My guest today is Kelly Montague. She's the Vice President and Regional Publisher of the Metroland Media Group Limited. So let's go get her a coffee, shall we? Come on in.
Thank you. Some sunshine.
It is a glorious day.
It is.
Well, this is our guest for this week's episode of the Smartcar Coffee Confidential. This is Kelly Montague.
Yes.
I got your name right then?
You did.
Okay, excellent. Kelly, say hi.
Hello.
All right. So let's go get a coffee.
All right. Sounds good. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I'll have a tea.
Fair enough.
Tea works.
So what kind of coffee do you want?
I am going to have
You want tea or something, don't you?
Chai latte, half sweet.
All right. I think I introduced your title correctly on the preamble run up here, because I have it printed up here. It says that you're the Vice President and Regional Publisher for Metroland Media Group. That's...
Yes.
Wow. You have to tell me more about that in a sec. We'll have to get your... is it chai latte?
Okay, chai latte, half sweet.
Chai latte, half sweet. Of course, that's my... I think you're the first guest that's ever ordered that.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
The first.
Yeah. You know, it's
Can I get this?
No.
Can I? No?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Okay.
So this is the contractual part of the arrangement.
Okay.
I give you a coffee.
Yeah.
You give me an interview.
Okay.
See? I forgot what you wanted. Chai latte.
A chai latte, half sweet.
A chai latte, half sweet, and a small cappuccino for me with 1 sugar. Plus, I want to have a look around your offices.
Yeah.
I'm nosy.
For sure.
You know, I love the publishing world. I mean, just missed all that.
I've worked at the Hamilton Spectator for the past 10 years.
Wow.
I've been here for the past 2 years. So I've worked in newspaper for 26 years. So
just a bit.
Yeah, I love the smell of ink.
I know.
And my grandfather had an ad agency, so he was involved with publishing as well in Fort Erie. So unbeknownst to me until after. I knew he had the ad agency. I didn't realize he was also connected with newspapers. So
did you ever watch the show or is it Mad Men?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too, actually. And I ended up binge watching it.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
Now I'm curious. Well, I'm just curious by nature. That seems to be my thing. But I want to know what your day entails. I want to know what it means to be a publisher of a large media organization.
So my day right now is getting to know my territory.
Okay.
Which is quite large.
I would imagine it is. How many, what do you call them, products? Do you call them platforms?
So we have, we'll call them newspapers, though we're not just newspapers anymore. So there's media. 25.
25? Now, it would be impressive if you could list them off alphabetically.
Okay. so Metroland, our model is still, we carry flyers. And so we grow with communities because our content is the wrap, so to speak, of the flyers. And so we are in the process of trying to understand what people want from us. We do have a PR issue in that people think print is dead or people aren't reading newspapers. We know it to not be true.
Now I know you can't say this, but you're foolish if you think print's dead.
Yeah.
Because it really isn't. It really isn't.
Yeah.
It might be less of it, but it's more effective.
Yeah.
You know?
And in our case, there isn't less of it because we still go to every home.
Actually, how many, I mean, I'm only really familiar with the Burlington Post, so how many times a week are you now publishing? How many print times, I should say, and roughly how many units or copies are going out into circulation?
So in Burlington, 63,000 copies go out every Thursday. With our Thursday edition.
Yeah.
And our website, we receive close to 1 million page views every month.
Ooh,
and the one thing that is consistent is that our digital audience continues to grow and grow. We have tools that help us to know what people are consuming at that moment. So we actually have a screen in our office. I could tell you right now what the #1 story is that's being viewed online.
Oh, I'd love to see it.
And that helps us make decisions in print then too, because, well, you'll see it when we do the tour. But when we look at this screen, we can see that, maybe Earth Day was getting a big uptake, or usually it's something a bit more sensational. Does
this piece of software, this tool, does it not only tell you what the conversational topic is, but does it tell you the sentiment? You know, for instance, it's like talking about Earth Day, and is it a positive series of stories, or are people ragging on Earth Day? You know, does it go up or down?
So it would be the story and how many people are looking at it at that moment.
Okay.
And then we can dive a bit deeper and find out how long are they staying on the story? Are they bopping around? Did the same person move off and read 3 additional stories? Were they just, how did they come to us? Did they come to us through social? Did they come to us direct? So we are getting more sophisticated in knowing how people are consuming, what they're consuming, how long they're consuming, and that will make our business.
We're about to go around the corner up onto Guelph Line, so we're going to hit rumble strips. So this isn't usually a good point where you want to get into anything serious.
I won't take a sip. So these would be some of our drivers that are dropping off product.
I was talking to one this morning. Just because I pulled in there because Siri said, "You've arrived." I'm thinking, all right.
Yes. So we're having some landscaping done.
So before I forget, you were talking about the sort of the many screens dilemma, or the fact that people can consume media now on smartphones and tablets and computers and in print, etc., etc.
Yes.
How are your journalists handling this kind of necessity to hustle a lot faster than they used to have to?
So, some are handling it very well, and some are realizing that this is how people like to consume now. When something happens, they want to know right away what's happening. And you know, I think about the fire that we had with the meat factory.
Yes.
Not too long ago, that our photographer was on the street within minutes. We had pictures that were posted very quickly while we were looking into the background story, because people expect us to have the information quickly. We also find that if we're first to post, that folks tend to come back to that source for updates.
Of course.
So if we get the story up quickly, we're able to hold the attention of the consumer because they know that we're following the story. So our journalists are getting better at recognizing that we need to post quickly, though we need to continue to follow the story and update the story.
It's a challenge because one of the things that I watch online is the pushback you get from traditional media bemoaning the thing called citizen journalism, where you get folks rushing to a scene with their smartphone, filming it or capturing it with maybe okay photos or okay images. It doesn't matter because they've scooped the media per se, and then they go and write something and it's just patently wrong, and it gets a ton of eyeballs, and then they turn around afterwards and they go, oops. There's no accountability.
It is an issue that we're not opposed to citizen journalism. As a community newspaper, I actually think we'll be reaching out more.
Good.
And when there's engagement back and forth, we think that's better communication. So a couple of, for instances, in our Oakville paper, our beaver trails, which allows folks to go on vacation and take a picture with our newspaper when they're on vacation.
Oh, that's
we
clever.
receive multiple entries for that. So we can't include all the submissions, but we have posted more than 3,000 families since we started that, with folks that take a copy of our newspaper on vacation and then hold up a copy telling us where they've been, whether it's Cuba or St. Lucia or Australia, which is a lot of fun. The other part is citizen journalism, and I think of our friends in the South and what journalists are having to overcome right now, that if you know that it's a credible source that's reporting a story, we have an obligation to make sure that we are impartial, that we're investigating, that we're telling the truth as we know it. So while there is bias, and we try to declare that,
we're human, right?
I really worry about the state of democracy when journalists are being raked over the coals, and they're the bad guys, because they really aren't. If they're a credible medium, and community journalists are the hardest working folks you're ever going to see. They put in a lot of time and effort to get a story right, and I think that's really important, that we continue to support journalists and getting stories out there.
Well, I'm all for for that. I'm definitely behind it. In fact, and it kind of, look at that. Whoa! Seriously?
A day in the life of
I know.
Burlington Street. We are your neighbors, and that is great sometimes because we uncover stories because we're living in the community.
But does that mean that if I find out one of my neighbours is a journalist, I have to stop talking to them unless they're off the record? Are you off the record now? Because I'm not talking to you about anything otherwise. It's like, nope. Actually, is there any truth to that whole on the record, off the record thing? Do you guys actually, you know, conform to that sort of unwritten rule?
Yes, you can request to speak off the record, and it generally is respected.
Generally respected.
It's irresponsible to report something that has no proof or substance behind it based on an off-the-record tip.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. I like when we have stories online that are good news stories that get a lot of hits. So there was a cute story where there was a little girl that went to a skateboard park, and there were, you know, the typical dudes that were skateboarding, and she was a bit timid and wasn't skateboarding. And one gentleman, young fella, came up and said, hey, invited her to come and participate, and the mother was so touched by that and posted that online, and we picked up the story, and that was one of our largest stories for I think it was 5 to 7 days.
I'm guessing that the business model for the majority of your media platforms is revenue generated through advertising.
Yes.
So therefore, you need a certain number of eyeballs. You can't be completely, you know, fluffy bunny stories all the time. You need to have all different flavor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And I think that's telling the stories in a community. They're not all happy stories. We had a horrible story that we reported this week, but sometimes they're not happy stories that we're reporting, but they are the voice of the community to tell what's going on. And I think people expect that from us, and I hope they continue to expect that from us.
Have you had to change your writing style to accommodate this you know, the attention span of a, you know, hamster on meth?
Yes. So I heard a statistic that humans and goldfish. That goldfish
I read that one.
Attention span of 2 seconds, and humans have the attention span of 1 second. So I'm not surprised by that statistic. I do have teenagers, so I know that they consume information differently than me.
Yes.
And they will peek in a paper product occasionally, though they want snippets. They will not sit at the table with a coffee or tea and absorb the entire story, where that's the habits that I certainly still have, that's a Saturday, Sunday morning routine with a paper product.
They skim.
Right. Yeah. Though I'm consuming throughout the day on devices, and I maybe just want the Twitter snippet or, you know, the Facebook post. And so absolutely we're recognizing that. Absolutely we need to adjust the way that we write. Yeah. Even in our paper products, we've talked about, yes, sometimes we tell the long story, and sometimes we're not going to tell the long story. We're going to just give the information that people want because they're busy and they want to consume and be on their way. Google likes us. So I think Google understands we're a content site, we're a credible site. We post a lot of stories that get a lot of eyeballs, so our SEO ranks very, very high.
What would you like people to sort of take away from this interview, this conversation? What would be the one or two things that you'd like people to think about? I mean,
I think as a community partner that we want to continue to engage and make a difference in communities, and we are doing that with our paper products that arrive at your doorstep every day, and we're doing that more with additional platforms. So we're a multimedia organization.
They're doing.
You want to come in?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. So I apologize. Our house is a mess right now.
That's okay.
You can get
I'm gonna shut the camera off. Well, I just got back from the grand tour of Metroland Media's new offices. I couldn't really film anything more than the sign right now because, well, first of all, they haven't got everything fixed and sorted out. However, I do have the opportunity to go back, so I will be getting some follow-up footage later on. But for now, I just wanted to say that I had a hoot. And there are loads of people walking around, because I guess this is a publishing hub, and they're in the process of moving in right now from their old location on Harvester Road. So this has been another Smart Car Coffee Confidential. My name's James Birchall, the Side Hustle Coach, and until next time, stay frosty and hustle smarter. Bye-bye.